But yeah, we're gonna go through the questions that a bunch of people have put on the YouTube channel. So this is going to be a long video. This is going to be posted on the YouTube channel too. And then if there are any extra questions from you guys on Twitch, we'll go through them as well. So yeah, always fun. These will be taken from the channel update video where I asked for questions, and also the 2023 video where I also asked. So we'll have to go through them all and see what is going on. So the first one, I'm not going to say names because they're on the screen. So simple as that, really. You can have a look at them there. And also all the comments are publicly available. Simple as. So it says, I'd like to ask something for the Q&A. We're expecting to get some very spicy additions in Naval this year with the Yamato Tirpitz Missouri. Yes, I'm one of the rare breed of naval enjoyers. I mean, I enjoy naval too, just not the high-tier stuff. It would be a cool thing if you'd give a shot to the topic of the possible additions, since an upcoming issue, for me at least, will be diversity of the tech trees. For example, the Americans had a lot of battleship types up until the Missouri and the entire Iowa class, whilst the Japanese had only stuff like the Amagi, if we count in what would add up in the following, a Nagato. Do you think potential additions will also be blueprint ships, like for a rough example, the Kronstadt, because that would mean we get a shit ton more of Japanese ships and a lot more of American ships, while at the same time give small trees like the German ones a chance to offer a bigger variety in the game? Yeah, I'd like they've already shown with the Russian side of things. Hey, Ethan, nice to see you. They've already shown with the Russian side of things that they're going to do stuff like that. Like they're gonna add what I class as fake vehicles into the game to try and balance it out. One of the issues that we've seen when it comes to vehicles like that is they're not really good at balancing them. Many times in the past when it comes to War Thunder, when they've added vehicles which are what I class as fake, basically not built and tested, they generally break the game. So we'll see how that goes. I would be very surprised if they go to the Yamato level this year, because as said, there isn't really anything after that. I think they're going to focus on supplementary stuff. So, you know, obviously with the submarine voice lines, we're going to see stuff like that. Maybe we'll see a few more mechanics over the time. Maybe there's a bunch of that stuff. But I got a feeling that we're not going to see those things this year. They'll just be here in the future. When it comes to diversity or variety, yeah, you're completely right. There's not going to be a lot of it. And that's what we've seen in aviation with the last update, everybody getting F-16s. That's kind of a sign for the future, unfortunately, for a lot of nations. And hopefully they can put in a bunch of variety in different areas apart from the top tiers. But yeah, I don't think the top tiers will have a lot of variety, and that's just kind of how it is, unfortunately. There's not too much you can do about it unless you decide to go full crazy and add all the missile frigates and things like that, or the missile destroyers that we see in the modern age. And if they decide to do that stuff, then I don't know, it'll be crazy. I think what is said is more likely. Like they go down the blueprint route and go a little bit crazy. Simple as that. Why do I look fatter with this cam? Yeah, let's see. Are the proportions wrong? Oh yeah, because I'm a thick boy right now. Yeah, there you go. This is actually the proper proportion. I don't know why I made myself thick on this cam. But yeah, perfect. So yeah, I think that's fair. Let's see. Sounds like it's going to be an interesting year. Hopefully everything works out. It will do. You know, this year's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a really good year. Also, Hazel talked about like the whole support thing, financial support and everything. I know I don't bang on about financial stuff at all, because this stuff is a hobby and the financial side of things is more basically designed around reinvestment. So like anything that's given gets put back into like the channel or into the stream or into whatever. So, you know, financial support is not required in those ways. I'll still do everything that I do just like I have done for years, even without the monetary thing. Like the monetary side of things is still very low when it comes to all of this stuff, which is why you don't see a lot of people doing what I do, because it's if you do it and don't have a stable job on top of it, it is not financially it's not viable at all. Like, you have to do double things at the same time. And if the only other way around it is just to do gameplay videos, which kind of you know, are aimed at the lowest common denominator. Do you think Gaijin will add more independent nations and make it more useless for the game itself, or it'll be better to add different nations? I mean, as sub-nations for the existing nations. So the way that this is, like, it's like two separate things, right? But I personally would prefer, I don't want any more independent nations in the game. I don't want them. I'm done with them. I'm finished with them. I'm not interested in any more independent nations. The sub-nations, with the addition of Finland and with the addition of South Africa, have shown that is much more superior and works much better. If they start doing more and more independent nations, which I think they will do, by the way, like, I think they'll do some more tech trees, so they can do some pre-order premiums and all of that stuff, with certain ones like, you know, Czech Republic / Czechoslovakia, you know, all that area. That could easily have some kind of weird tech trees attached to it. I think that's what they'll do, but I don't think it's the right decision. There's already so much content in the game, and to be honest, since I look at a decent amount of people's service records, there aren't many people who have similar stuff to me where we do have most of the trees ground out. So I think it's better to not focus on independent stuff and just focus on improving pre-existing nations to put them all at a certain at a certain level. Will they do that? I think they'll do both. I think they'll add some sub-nations and then also add some more independent ones. But in a few years' time, they're gonna, or even now, I hope they're starting to have conversations and thinking about how do they work out how to change the research system, because now there's just way too many vehicles in it, and you can in certain areas it's incredibly bloated, especially when it comes to aviation, if you have a look at like the American tree or stuff like that. So yeah, it's a little bit odd. Only started watching you from November as I started playing War Thunder again, which is still suck at, and that will never change. But now I watch you on here, and I watch your streams while I'm gaming. Great content, especially when it came to buying some premiums on the sales, and the ones you said were good were good. Well, that's good, thank you. When do you think the M120 will be added alongside the R-73? Well, both of those missiles do very different things. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure they'll add the 120 this year, because they're just like the Maverick. There's multiple variants of it. Some are much better than others. And I think they'll probably they have vehicles in the game which are capable of carrying it. Like the new Viggen they just added was specifically designed to carry the 120. So yeah, with the expansion last year, it seems like all the training wheels are off now. They're just going to do whatever they feel like. So they're going to it'll come in this year. The R-73 will come in if the MiG-29 is not doing any good, and also once they expand stuff once again. So probably at the end of this year, or you know, the November update. What do you think of a Romanian subtree in the Italian or France tree from 1 to 7 or rank 1 to 6? I've advocated it in the past. I think all what are seen as minor Axis nations from the Second World War should be added to Italy. Italy is the tech tree which, from the aviation point of view, I really enjoy, and also it has some quite nice BRs when it comes to ground. The naval's a struggle, but yeah, I personally feel like I would add all of those nations to Italy. I'd just throw them all in there. They've already done it with like Hungary, with a bunch of their premiums, I don't know why they wouldn't do it with something like Romania. They talked about it or at least BVD talked about the idea of adding, some kind of nation like Hungary or Romania recently. I don't know why they wouldn't do it. It's the obvious solution to a problem. So I really hope that they don't try and overthink things, because with War Thunder, they haven't really been overthinking things, but I feel like in Enlisted, they've been overthinking a few things. I subscribed to your channel. I hope it helps. I'm definitely looking forward to Company Heroes 3 as well. I should be back home from overseas soon. I can't wait to catch a live soon. It's all good. It's nice to see people being all over the place, whether it's for work or, other things. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Company Heroes 3. I'm just hoping it works. Hey, MJ, nice to see you. I really enjoyed 1 and 2. They were fantastic to play, so I don't see why this one would be any different. So it should be quite nice. And for the Q&A, why do you so routinely disclude Italian vehicles in the Pasta Dev videos? You've done it several times now. You did it with the new 50 cal milk truck. You did it with the AW149, the same video that the AW149 was passed to the UK. You did it with the Falaga. Just to name a few I can specifically remember. So when it comes to the Pasta Dev stuff, there's a few different things going on. Unfortunately, when it comes to certain people who create the posts, they've done some kind of let's call it interesting things in the past. I don't have anything against Italy. I never have. There's a video for the Past of the Devs that I don't know when I did. I think it may have been a few weeks ago. Let's see if I can find it. I think I called it like Italian Stallion or something. There you go. So the aviation one. So if I had anything against Italy, I wouldn't have obviously covered this stuff or anything. The issue is some of the people who write the posts, and this is because of unfortunate things that they've done in the past. Now, we're not going to name names. There's no need to. Many of the different things that have happened are in the past, and they're going to stay there. But at the same time, I'm not interested in promoting their ideas or thoughts when it comes to my specific channel. That means that sometimes things are missed off, and we're going to go through a few things. Now, you don't have to believe anything I say here. Like, usually people don't. I don't know why, because I've never lied about any of these things. Nobody can ever point to a point where I've ever lied about anything when it comes to this stuff. But let's just go a few things so you can kind of understand my mindset on it. So the first thing is it was like a year or 2 years ago. Some of the guys who make the posts actually hit me up and asked not to use names, because I used to actually say the names of people who made the posts, and they were getting a lot of backlash from it. They were getting, either DMs, or they were getting harassed in places like Discord or the forums or wherever it was, and they were just like, hey, could you... you can cover the stuff, it's nice that you do it, but could you just not attach my name to it? Recently, I've actually had to unlist a video from like 2 or 3 years ago because one of the guys who was in it hit me up and said, could I unlist it, because he didn't want it on the internet because of the backlash that he has also received more recently. And that is something that happens when it comes to this stuff, and I'm always down for obliging those things. There was a set of individuals who weren't happy with that because they said that I was doing it so I wouldn't promote their stuff. And even though I was going through the things, I was linking to the articles, I was doing everything, I just wasn't saying the name because another set of people had told me that they don't want me to say the stuff. So either I go through every individual person and ask them, is it okay to do this? Is it not okay to do this? And then people could easily work out which ones, were saying to stop mentioning the names, or I just do a blanket thing, which is much easier to do, and also at the same time is fair to everybody because everyone's on the same standard. So I had a few of the guys who were annoyed at me at that because they saw it as I wasn't giving proper credit, even though I was asked by some other people to do it, differently. And that gives you like a kind of a barometer to show like how you can have different people with like different standards, and things aren't just done for specific reasons you may think of. Now let's go into a few other things to give you some context. So over the years in War Thunder, like I've been doing this for a long time. Like content creation wise, I've been doing this for years, like 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, how many years. And it's been really fun, which is why I continue to do it. But also at the same time, you run into what would be classed as unsavory characters. Some people who just straight up are, well, dicks is probably a best way of putting it. Some people who have egos who are way too big for their britches, and also just go after people. To name a few, there is a TEC mod that used to be present on the TEC Hub, the Discord, and he was banned because he used the N-word a bunch of times. And he's not from America, he's from the Scandinavian region. So he is an active TEC mod right now. There's also a suggestion moderator who also got their Discord account banned for being in a neo-Nazi Discord, which it seems like people just don't know about, and that's fine. But like, there's two people that I've had to deal with over the years. There was also one of the dudes who gets his suggestions passed every so often, who made up a ton of rumors about different people because they found it funny and it was fun to meme, until people start believing them. One of these rumors was the simple fact that one of the members of the community had been arrested by the police. And this was something that basically had gone around. This was a person who I hold in decent respect and also has always been fair to people and kind to people. And it was just, everybody just started shitting on him and, basically, as we've talked about many times, just believing what they saw. And then, at the same time, the same person got themselves banned because they were posting videos which were designed to break people's PCs or break their access to Discord at least, then created an alt account to subvert the ban, and then also had an account before that which got banned for racism and also use of the N-word and also other slurs. And this is somebody who gets their stuff passed a lot. Also, just constantly spreading other falsities, trying to do like the whole us versus them mentality thing, which is just all over the place nowadays, which is always just, bad. Then there was the whole thing where I'd stolen, information from another creator, good old Piev. I feel bad for Piev. Like, because what Piev would do is with his suggestions for past the devs, he would just straight copy and paste information from other websites and just put it there. And the suggestion moderators didn't catch it for like 2.5 years. I don't know how, but they just didn't. And I made a video. I can't remember what it was on. I think it might have been the term 3 or something like that. And I talked about it, and I used the website which was specifically for it. It was translated from German. And we went through all the different things, and people were like, why are you stealing from Piev? Why are you a piece of shit? Why are you doing all these things? It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, it's right here. Like, I didn't even know he made the article. And then I had to make the video about it and like all of this stuff. And yeah, there was a bunch of people who, once again, if you make what even isn't a mistake, but is seen as a mistake, they just jump on you. So why should I have to bother with those people? For me, it's much better just to push them over there and just enjoy what I do instead. And then also, I remember back in the day, one of my first forays into moderation was settling a dispute between a Frenchman and an Italian, and the dispute was about the fact that the Italian was an open fascist. And I was like, what have I got myself into here? Like, and this was a guy who was pretty high up when it came to the custom battle community. And he was just an open fascist. Like that, and I was like, wow, okay. Like that's interesting. And then there was the whole accent thing, like saying, why would I why would I learn a language that's going to be dead in 100 years? Which the accent stuff is just so silly to me. Like it because it's just like an impossible standard, right? Like, imagine talking to a Geordie and talking to a Scouser, talking to a Brummie, and then talking to, like, I don't know, a Yorkshireman, and then, like, somebody from London and being like, hey, all say this word. They all say it completely differently. So, like, what's the correct pronunciation? It's such a silly point to get caught up on. And then, one of the other people who I don't also cover anymore. This was the one where I was like, oh god, okay, well this is just awful. So there was one dude, he created one of the tech trees. Like it was one of the potential independent tech trees, and he'd done a lot of picture finding and a lot of internet research. And the post itself was missing a ton of information. Like it was a ridiculous amount of information which had just been removed. And I was like, well, goddamn, like why is this the case? And the simple thing was, he actually hit me up in a DM because I said in the video, look, I don't know if this is real. I don't know if it's wrong. I don't know what's going on. And he hit me up in a DM on Discord and was like, oh no, I have more information about it. And I was like, well, why didn't you put it in the thing? Or can I have the information so we could have a look? And he's like, no, I want to be paid for it. And I was like, what? Well, that's not in the spirit of any of this stuff. And he's like, well, you know, I want Gaijin to pay me for this information. I was like, well, what the hell? Like, then you just, like, for me, that's against, like, the spirit of all of this past the developers stuff and all of that. If you want to go down those official lines, then you do a different thing. This is supposed to be about community suggestions. So if you're having a go at me because I don't have all the information, which I'm using your article to get the information from, and then you say to me, oh, well, the reason it doesn't have all the information is because I want to be paid for it, then what am I doing? So I was just like, oh, okay, fair enough. I won't cover any of your stuff anymore. So there's like 5 to 10 people who, unfortunately, in the past, I've had negative experiences with in one way or another, whether it's them going after other people, whether it's them going after me, or whether there's just doing things which I personally am morally against, and therefore I just don't cover their stuff. It's not specifically targeted towards Italian stuff. None of my stuff is ever targeted towards Italian stuff. There's just a very small minority of Italians, maybe 5 to 10 of them, and some of them aren't even Italians, and they just make a big stink about everything. Because, I don't know, maybe they feel persecuted, as I said, like the us versus them mentality thing again. And to be honest, like, nobody cares. It's like it's very dull to deal with most of the time, which is why I just choose to opt out. So yeah, it's specifically targeting individuals, but it's not specifically targeting them because of, you know, prejudicial beliefs. It's just because they've been assholes in the past, and I don't feel like covering their stuff because they're assholes. And every time I do cover their stuff, guess what? They wake up from the depths and then start being assholes again to people. So yeah, that I reserve my right to, you know, put this stuff on my channel that I want to put on, basically. So the next question is, when do you think Swedish naval will be added, and would you think it's a good addition? Anything that increases parity in the game is a positive. My guess is it will be added in like 5 to 10 years. Like I feel like they've just sorted out the helicopter stuff now. Like most nations have a helicopter tech tree, or, you know, they have most of a helicopter tech tree. Like they have a basis, a foundation of one. With naval, it's going to take a while, but it'll eventually get there. So we'll see what goes on. My guess, though, personally, is not too far in the future, but I think they're going to focus on other things first, because, you know, we don't even have the French Navy yet. It'll probably come this year, but who knows. It would be nice to see. I'll probably play some of the early stuff. I just hope that they don't go crazy and try and give everybody a Blue Water and Coastal thing. Just give everybody one or the other, and then build from there. Exactly how far are you from spading every vehicle in the TEC tree? Separate this answer into an answer for aviation and ground, please. I don't know. So this is the game. You can see my spading percentages, but there's some vehicles I haven't researched. I think the last time... So there was times last year where I had everything ground out for ground and aviation for most nations, and I think when we did the tally, we were at like 92 or 93% spaded, but that's definitely less now. It's probably more 85% because they added like EFS to everything. They added like dozers. They added all this different stuff. So yeah. Yeah, it's probably around like 85% of the stuff I have is spaded. I haven't really been focusing on spading more recently, but I will probably focus again pretty soon on it. Like for Italy example, I have like all the ground vehicles ground out. I don't really touch helicopters that much. For aviation, there's 3 I need. For blue water, you know, it's mostly like rank 5, and then for this, it's usually like this. So. Like, I play the majority of the vehicles, I spade them, it's just, yeah. My guess would be about 85% overall. Which underdesk elliptical, just curious. I know someone who's shopping for one. Let's find it. I've been using this for like a week and a half, by the way, and it's been pretty good. The only issue with it is that it moves, and I need to find a way of not bolting it down, but like keeping it down. Let's see, it's the QBJR2, so CUBIIJR2. That's the one I've been using, and it's been good, like especially in cutscenes and stuff like that, or loading screens, just like giving it a quick pedal. So yeah, it's been quite nice. Yeah, I got it on the 8th of January, so I've been using it for about 20 days so far, and no sound really, like that. It's kind of funny. So like right now I'm using it, right? But you don't hear the elliptical, but you hear my chair because it's squeaky. So I need to sort out the chair. But it's been good, you know. It isn't exercise. I'll never say it's exercise, but what it does is it just keeps your legs just moving, which is very important. So you know you can keep the blood flowing. Let's see. My only question, this is from a Jinx, my only question is what got you interested or into military vehicles? Was it War Thunder, or has this been an interest for longer? The old Commando comic series introduced me to the tank. I was extremely young, maybe 6 years old or something. Basically, what got me interested in warfare or stuff like that was my grandfather. My grandfather is very much into the Second World War, and he taught me a lot about, when I was very small, like maybe 6, 7 or 8, about the Battle of Britain, and then also general, like the bombing campaigns, when it came to basically the bombing campaigns done by Bomber Command. That was like my first foray into it. And then my father also has been very much into that stuff. Like, he has a full set of World War I medals. So every single medal that exists from the British sides of things, he has what's the word for it? Real medals. So not like mock-ups or anything like that, but authentic medals from that period. And he has a full set of them, so every single one of them. So he's always been into it. I've always been a big reader. I read a ton of books, and as through my teenage years, I read a lot of fantasy stuff, like Lord of the Rings and also Game of Thrones and all that stuff, but also I read a lot of Second World War books, and more recently I've been focusing more on First World War books. So yeah, I don't know, I find it very, very interesting. And it's just something. The major thing is just the expansion of the technology from about 1938 to 1946. Funnily enough, my grandfather was too young to be in the Second World War. I think he was 8 when it finished. But my great grandfather drove trains. So he was I suppose you'd call him a logistics guy. One of the funny things is my grandmother was actually born on a train station, weirdly enough. So, all that. Please rename your second channel to something like Tech VODs and tag it to your channels tab. It's in the channels tab. Let's see. Yeah, it's just the tech channel. It's right here. And no, it's not just VODs, that's the thing. So we can't name it just as that. Right, let's see. I looked at the origins of this shit. Right, so anybody who ever posts this, I know you're under like 15, so I'm just going to disregard your opinion. Alright, let's see. How you do that? I mean, yes, I'm not, how to say it, well, normal mental health stuff, and I'm happy if I can go get some food for the week without having a mental breakdown, but the stuff that you got there, that's so much. Huge respect. Oh, yeah, so I do a lot of stuff. I don't know how I do a lot of stuff. Like I was thinking about it. I was chatting to the missus, right? I was chatting to her the other day, and I worked out for a period of time. So maybe like 25 to 28. Like when I'm 29 now. So, well, no, 24 to 27. So I was working, if we want to include YouTube stuff as work on top of my actual work, I was working 14 to 16 hour, 14-hour days. 14-hour days every day for 7 days. So that's what, above 90 hours a week to do everything. And nowadays, so I work I work probably around about 12 hours a day, including like all of the, if you want to include the YouTube and the Twitch stuff and the work stuff, it's probably around 12 to 14 hours a day, but I take Tuesdays off. So it's probably around like 75 to 80 hours a week. But for me, like, I don't know, I don't find it hard to do, because the content side of things, like the YouTube, the Twitch and all that side of things, are super easy, and also I really enjoy doing it. Like, it's nice just sitting down and chatting about stuff, and it's nice like streaming and playing games, which is what I would do anyway. So for me, when it comes to like the YouTube and the Twitch side of things, this is like the hobby thing that keeps everything else in what's the word, in balance. And I think over the last few years, now that I've dealt with like the weight stuff, now that I've dealt with, you know, the general health stuff and all of that stuff, I think there's nothing that's bad going on in my life. Like, you know, my missus is healthy and, you know, really enjoying time with her. You know, we're probably going to do family stuff in like a couple of years. Money's good. Like, everything's all right. Yeah, we're probably going to go into like a depression here, like when it comes to money stuff, especially in Canada, but that's not like a huge thing. And in general, like, times are good, you know, I feel good. And I'm just all right with that. Like, I feel like if I did less stuff, I would probably get really bored. Like, I don't like when it's like, okay, so let's stop doing, like, I don't know, the YouTube stuff. So okay, that's probably like an hour or two a day that I have free. Well, what do? Do I just watch TV? Or do I read books? Well, I suppose I could, but I am a person who needs to be doing things all the time. Otherwise, I shut down and get very sad. So as long as I keep like going, then I'm good. Thank you, Azuna. Have you ever had gaming addiction? If yes, how to recover? No, I haven't. I can just I can just turn it off. I don't feel like I have to play video games ever. I have a lot of other stuff going on my, like, in my life that I can focus on instead of video games, like, you know, working out or watching TV or movies or books or, you know, anything like that. So yeah, I don't think I ever have been addicted to games, is probably the way to put it. A lot of people say that I am when it comes to War Thunder, but at the same time, I can just turn it off whenever. Like I set myself goals, and then I like achieve those goals. That's pretty much it. I think people who get addicted to games, if that is a thing, obviously it's a mental issue, and they need to sort it out. I don't know if gaming is addictive or is more addictive compared to other forms. Like, gaming is definitely not as addictive as stuff like smoking, because it literally it forces a chemical imbalance in your body, you know. Whereas gaming doesn't exactly do that. But as always, if you do one thing way too much, then you know you have a negative thing for it, and therefore that's not good. You know, that's just how it is. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been addicted to gaming. The main reason why I started doing video games is because I needed a break from being busy. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous coming from me, but but when I was at university, like, I did game beforehand, but not too much. But when I was at university, I took everything up to 100. You know what I mean? Like, when I was at uni, I was way more busy than I am now, which is crazy to think about. Like, literally sleeping every other day kind of thing, with what I ended up doing with the double major and everything. And that I can look back on, like, even though I got through it all and I was able to do pretty well, I think it's fair to say that was pretty unhealthy to do, but it worked for me. And now I'm in the position I am because of it. So it was like, you know, 2 or 3 years of annihilation and hard graft, and then, you know, success, short-term loss, long-term gain. And I feel like a lot of stuff in life is like that. But gaming was a way to have an hour or two to play stuff like Total War or stuff like War Thunder and just kind of chill and not think about anything and turn off my brain. And nowadays, when it comes to gaming, that's pretty much what it is still. Like, it's, okay, I've had a stressful day at work, or, oh, well, you know, I need to sort these things out. Maybe I just take a few times, relax the brain, chill, go talk to people, and then, you know, relax. So, yeah. As Zach says, why make a second channel? Just keep it all on this one and make playlists. So I used to do that. That's what I used to do. So you can see if you go back, like, you got Men of War, Red Tide, Company Heroes 2. So I used to put it all in one place. And the reason why I stopped doing that is just because of the volume of everything. And also, at the same time, I just wanted, if let's say I decided to put everything on the same channel. So this channel here is pretty much designed for War Thunder and Enlisted. But if it wasn't and it was designed for everything, then per day you would get 6 separate videos, which, you know, would be from all of these, right? And so this is more of like an archive channel, or if you miss the streams, or if you want to, you know, see stuff from previously. Like, this channel has stuff scheduled on it until the middle of 2024 right now. And it's just going to get longer and longer. So the idea that could be uploaded on this channel, like, people would get sick of it pretty quickly when it came to it. So the two sets of content are fundamentally different. This is more targeted around news, targeted around ideas, targeted around thoughts, whereas this one is much more general gameplay and looking at different things. So yeah, That's basically how it is. So 2 separate communities and 2 separate thoughts. That's basically why. I used to do this. And then I decided to change it. Video idea, how about a missus and you do a live gameplay video? I mean, we could do, but we play very different games. Like, I play war games or FPSs, and then she plays what are classed as cozy games, and I've just learned about cozy games. I didn't realize they had a name, but stuff like Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, that Disney game, you know, the star whatever, where you go meet Goofy and he tells you to build a house. You know, like she plays stuff like that. So we could do like playthroughs of those games, but if we're playing War Thunder or something, like, she's just not going to enjoy it because it's not what she's interested in. So, like, I'm fine with doing stuff like that. We've done a few things in the past which are similar to those ideas, but it's just, you know, we have different interests. And also at the same time, my private life is my private life, which leads me on to the next question. Which city in Canada do you live in, and what do you do in real life? 2 very personal questions. So I live in BC. That's all I'll say about that. And also, what I do in real life is would be generally classed as scientific research, and that's it. Unfortunately, we've had some negative things in the past where there have been members of the community who have decided to either maliciously or non-maliciously try and talk to my family members and also talk to my boss at work, and I would rather that not happen again, because, of course, these are 2 separate parts. They do not intertwine, and they shouldn't intertwine. I like having my private life private, because it's private. What are your ties with the Chinese Communist Party? Unfortunately, none. I feel like if I didn't have a soul and decided to sell myself out, I could probably make a decent amount of money. But unfortunately, morals get in the way. So, you know, obviously not there. What's your favorite War Thunder content creator? So the thing about making content is usually you don't, well, at least from my point of view, because of how much I make, I don't really have time to go through a bunch of different things. I really enjoy Bowtime. I think Bowtime's pretty good. Mr. Jim Chamberlain always comes up whenever he makes videos. I always watch them. Dog for Life, of course. One of my good friends, and Fanatical Freeman. I like Spitfire's stuff, always have. I think the way he goes through things and talks about stuff is really, really nice. There's a ton of people, like streamer-wise as well, you know. There's obviously people like Jaguara, who are always relaxed and nice to listen to, you know. Wingling Dragon, you know, if you're interested in the sim side of things and a different way of looking at the game. Basically people who are just, you know, chill, like playing the game and just talk about stuff like that. That for me is what I kind of like. You know, I can't deal with like the highlight reels and the bish bash bosh, you know, shit joke kind of thing. Like that's not me. But you know, stuff like just relaxed, talking about stuff, kind of like podcasty, like story time stuff. That's what I kind of do. But I will say, most of the time when it comes to content that I go into, it's usually away from War Thunder, and the reason is because I obviously play a lot of War Thunder, and I make a lot of War Thunder content, so I don't want to just do that. I do have a lot of other interests as well, which I try and facilitate, whether it's cooking, whether it's you know, reading about stuff such as, like, you know, I don't know, just random ass facts, learning about stuff like the SAS, or, you know, random tank development. So that's the kind of stuff that I look at. Recently I've been watching a lot of NFL stuff and listening to podcasts while, you know, working out and hearing about their opinions on things and how it all works, because the NFL, I've kind of followed it this year, and it's been quite nice to follow. Since the main game I follow is rugby in England, and pretty much all the podcasts this year have been so doom and gloom, especially with Wasps going under and Worcester going under as well. It's just not good. So I much prefer it. Much prefer to look at the light sometimes, especially when I'm consuming content. Cameroon, very true. Simple as that. And also, of course, this as well. So we have another set of questions on this video. So this was the 2023 prediction ones. I did ask for that stuff too, so we'll go through them as well. More game modes such as combined arms matches, not what we have right now. Entire matches, maps like City or Vietnam would be great for naval. Aircraft and ground vehicles in a massive and long pass match. Each element needs to secure their objectives to win, or else the game will continue. Is this a good idea? No. Just as a short answer. I've talked about this in a few videos previously, so I won't go hugely into it. These things sound great on paper. The issue is coordination and also the power levels. If you have a dude who's just sat in a destroyer or sat in a cruiser or whatever, he can just bombard areas of the map and you can't do anything about it because you're in a tank. So yeah, really fun. It might be able to work with multiple respawns and infinite SP and no repair costs and all that stuff, but at the same time, it's not something that would work in War Thunder. They've tried it in the past, I'm sure, when it comes to testing. And also at the same time, custom, you can make custom battles which have these in, and you could create these scenarios, and you could work out how it could work, and then you could pitch it to Gaijin. So yeah, the combined arms game modes would work if you only had coastal stuff, and they didn't also push coastal stuff as much as they did. But unfortunately, you can't now. Like it just wouldn't work unless you massively limited players, and if you limit players in that way, then nobody's going to play it. Do you think we could see a Swedish naval tree this year? Perhaps a massive naval update with Swedish and French naval trees along with other improvements. Oh, I think it's more... I don't... Why the Swedish tree? Why is 2 questions on the Swedish tree? I mean, anything's possible. The France is more likely because of, obviously, the voice lines and everything like that. And also, I think they would have a more unique experience. The main issue with France is the coastal stuff. The coastal stuff is super limited if you just have a look at what they have. The blue water stuff will be very good, though. So that will work fine. Sweden, I mean, I don't know how it could work in a way of it coming alongside another tech tree. I think it just won't be played. So I'd probably wait a few years for that one. But yeah, the French stuff I feel like is way more nailed on. I don't really think it'll be any difficult to have a French coastal tree. It'll be sparser than other nations at the lower end, but there's still enough for it to exist. Not really. Like, that's the problem. It's really rough. Do you think that we'll see any RWR reworks this year? And do you think they'll be a big help if implemented? Yes, I think we will. And the basic reason is this. So sometimes when you have stuff in game which is seen, you know, there's parts of it which are negative, and they're talked about a lot. So like the sound, right? Like the RWR sound is something that gets brought up constantly. If you have this negative thing and it isn't fixed quickly, it usually means that they're working on an overall revamp or an overall evolution of the system. So because there's a few things like that with the RWR, and it is very simplified and also hasn't really been changed over like the last year or two, my guess is that yes, they're gonna do like a big update, and they're gonna add a bunch of unique ones to different nations. They're gonna make the ones in the cockpit work as well, just like they did with stuff like the Maverick stuff and the TV screens. So yeah, RWR reworks might not be this year, but it's obviously going to come, because that's one of the parts which hasn't really evolved when it comes to high-tier planes. It's pretty much stayed stagnant. So everything eventually gets updated in, you know, one or more ways. Do you think the Polish tech tree might be added this year? Poland has vehicles to fill top 10 Cold War BRs, but it would struggle at mid to low tier. So, no. I think a Polish tech tree would be a terrible idea. And I know there's a lot of Polish people out there, and I know you'll be annoyed about what I'm about to say, but you don't have enough vehicles, and you don't have any unique vehicles. If you want to see how people enjoy unique vehicles, go and have a look at Israel and how nobody's playing it right now. Adding a Polish independent tech tree would be very stupid. It would be a waste of time. So if they want to do a sub-tech tree, sure. If they want to do event Polish vehicles or premium Polish vehicles, which is what they've done in the past, by the way, with certain destroyers and then also the Leopard 2 PL, I think that's more likely than a independent tech tree. An independent tech tree for Poland would be just pointless. It would be just like, I know there's a lot of Poles out there, and I know they play a lot of War Thunder and they want to be represented, but it doesn't make any sense as an independent one. Not just because of the World War II aspect, but the simple fact that you need to create lineups in the game, and if you can't create full lineups, you're just going to get annihilated. Like I played like for Israel, right? For Israel, I played Israel when it first came out, and I still play Israel today. You can see how many vehicles I spaded. You know, I'm still working on some of the other ones because I got burnt out spading Magak after Magak after Magak. Nice to see you, 996. And basically, you can see all of these vehicles that I spaded. It got super boring, like just trying to spade all the same vehicles over and over and over again, having to deal with the stock grinds and not having any uniqueness. And this is what the tree looks like right now. Doesn't have as many gaps in it, but still lacks a ton of light vehicles and also lacks CAS support at a lot of BRs. Basically from 5.7 to 7.7, you have no CAS. So 6.0, no CAS, 7.0, no CAS, 7.3, no CAS, right? So you don't have any CAS for this area apart from a premium Spitfire, which gets annihilated. So yeah, it sucks. And the more times that we can remove these types of experiences and put these types of trees into these nations would be better. If you want, I mean, you might want to ask why this is missing, by the way, this area, but that's the story for another day. Like, why is this not spread out? And what has happened when things have been added? You know, maybe you can start, jogging the noggin. Let's see. What do you think the chances are of RRB being expanded upon? Current mode is pretty stale, something simple like respawn mechanics, or maybe something heavier like new tasks such as bomber interception. I mean, they use enduring confrontation to test a bunch of stuff, it seems. What you can kind of do is you can use stuff such as enduring confrontation to kind of see what they're going to do with RB. So anything that's added to that, you can like kind of work out, right? So for me, there's a bunch of stuff that's in that area that could easily be added into RB. So maybe they'll do that. The current mode has seen some evolutions, mainly on the AI front. They're continuing to do that with the realistic vehicles on the ground, so it's a little bit harder to kill them. That's something that's been expanded upon. The thing that's mainly changed is the vehicles that are involved in it. At different BRs, and how they all work. So I don't know what they can do with the mode. I think the mode itself is fine for the most part. The major issues is the balance between the vehicles. And also, I don't think big maps really work too well, apart from at the extreme top tier at the moment. But that's a story for another day. Question for the Q&A. I've been thinking of a rework for the current objectives we have in RRB. That is being the generic bombing bases. We have the pillboxes and vehicle columns as well. I'd like to see this changed. In place, I'd like to propose that we have the generic bases removed and targets to consist of airfields with parked aircraft and ammo and fuel dumps. Aircraft factories, tank factories, rail yards and locomotives and cars around the place. The vehicle columns with the realistic damage models. These are pretty common in the EC maps and even some smaller ones nowadays anyway. Especially, I'd like to see... Alright, okay, so... This isn't really a question, is it? And especially, I'd like to see shipyards and submarine pens on the water maps and ships out on the water for anti-ship gameplay, realistic damage models for these ships as well. I think we need a large expansion for ship versus air gameplay. Right, okay. Right. Punctuation. Punctuation's very important. Please use it in the future. And I think 2023 will be an exciting year for this. With what we have seen in the files with regards to submarines, French naval tree, should it be this year, they come to the game. I think maps with targets like these would need a ticket system rework, and should that happen, I think these targets with how much there is to bomb would render aircraft with large payloads like the Aardvark and Fencer right up with the B-52s and Tu-95s unable to end the game on their own. I also think the current game timer is too short for these larger maps. What are your thoughts on this? Like, you've just hit me with a hammer like 5 or 6 times. The issue, like, if you make it harder to end the game with when it comes to bombing and stuff, then yes, you make it so stuff like B-52s, which don't exist, or Tu-95s, in-game I should say, or Tu-95s that don't exist to end the game. What you also make is you make every other vehicle that has less tonnage than them completely useless, and this is a problem that we've seen many times. This is why you need a variety of different things to... this is why you need a variety of different things when it comes to objectives in the game to be able to focus on. So, I mean, they're probably going to try and do stuff like this. I don't think at the mid tiers, at the high tiers, like probably. I mean, good luck, good luck living in a B-52 nowadays. The thing is, since I feel like, well, I'm not an old guy, but I've been doing this for very long, right? So, if you just type in on my channel something like this. So, RRB Seaforts. Why RRB is dying 4 years ago. Talking to Jenga about RRB in certain years. Introduction, realistic battles, talking about them, how it works, up-tiered or down-tiered, realistic Norway, you know, like there's a bunch of things where I've talked about realistic, and then even like adding these things like and I understand that either a lot of people are new or they haven't been around for as long, but all of these ideas I've made videos on, like even 5 years ago. Like, I know, obviously not a lot of views or anything, but 5 years ago, we talked about the idea of AI paratrooper objectives, and I still really like this idea. I think it's pretty fun. I just spent 20 minutes, like, going through what you would do, how it all would work, and all of this stuff. So, like, it's one of those things where I feel like I've gone through every possibility. So repeating myself is probably not the best thing to do. Okay, that's a statement. Let's see. Here we go. Where do you think War Thunder will go when Gaijin runs out of vehicles to add for top tier? Will they focus on nations that aren't the big three and need their trees to be filled, or will they go back to Cold War and World War II vehicles? I mean, there's like over the game has over 2,000 vehicles in it. there is also more than 2,000 vehicles they can add. The issue that Gaijin has is not running out or having enough vehicles. It is variety. As I said with the Israeli example, the vast majority of those vehicles play exactly the same. They're not fun because you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And what that basically means is you are not growing, and you are not, having more fun. You're grinding the same stuff. Like if they had like that United Korean tech tree, that's like 8 or 9 M48s. And as you've seen recently, the M48 ain't doing too good in a stock configuration. So like it's not going to be will they run out of vehicles, it will be will people get bored because they're playing the same thing over and over and over again. And I think that's more likely, right? I think what they'll do is they've already started doing it the last few years, shifting their focus from the actual grind of the game more to events. We're getting more and more events pretty much every year. Whether it's like the small ones like Australia Day recently, or the Build-A-Bear events, or general events, World War mode. They talked about the ranked mode thing for the competitive side of stuff. I think they'll just shift way more into that stuff, and just keep pumping out new tech trees, which will be filled with vehicles where there'll be like 1 or 2 or 3 which are unique, and then the rest are exactly the same, as you've seen before. So yeah, that's what I think will happen. Whether it does or not, we'll have to go on what goes on. I think the main thing, or the main area that they see as growth right now, is the competitive side of things. And having a look at like esports overall right now, I disagree. I think when I have a look at a bunch of other games, the competitive scene of them is incredibly small, and also literally nobody is making money. Everybody is running at a loss, and the actual audience is not big enough compared to what would be classed as standard sports to actually work. It just doesn't. The model itself doesn't work. So I don't think that's the way to go when it comes to the game. But I think that's one of the avenues they have to push forward with. The other thing is just to keep introducing little things to get people to go play like mid-tiers again, so like EFS and stuff like that, and just keep people rolling into the game. But I think one of the main issues is not going to be running out of vehicles. It never will be. The main issue is how do you keep people interested playing the same stuff, and then also how do you keep people reinvigorated to continue to play it. Like I'm coming on like 10 years playing this game. Like it's kind of nuts when you think about it. Like that's a third of my life, right? Now I've only started properly playing it like the last 3 years, but still, it's crazy to think about. Like overall, aircraft carriers. Fun fact. Do you think we'll get rank 8 tanks this year? What about the Leopard 2A7V and Leopard 2A6EX for the German tree, or even the Panzer Haubitz 2000? Yeah, we'll get rank 8. All you got to do is look at the signs, right? They added the Leopard 2A4 Premium, they added the Challenger 1 Premium, they added, obviously the Tones has been around for a while, but the 2S38, then they'll want to add a new premium for the Americans. They'll want to add a new premium for like one of the other major tech trees. Like they're obviously going to do it. It's when you have a look at what they just did with aviation, like ground is in a much better position to add in rank 8 than aviation was, and they basically just sold a bunch of top tier premiums without calling them top tier. And this set from aviation was way worse than the previous ones. This one was quite egregious. So they're just going to do that with ground. They're going to go, oh, here's an Abrams premium. Oh, here's a T80 premium. Here's a 2A5 premium. They're just going to do that, and they'll add some new vehicles on top of it, because they've now expanded the tech trees with the SPAAs and also the light vehicles for most tech trees, so people have like more full lineups, and then they'll just add those. And then the gameplay will be basically the same as it is now, which, to be quite to be quite honest, is not it's not in the best place right now. Did you ever consider that they might be just doing another submarine event? You don't. This is talking about like the audio for the submarine stuff. You don't put this amount of effort into getting all the voice lines and stuff like that just to do a one-off event. It's too much money and too much time. So, do you think naval scout planes, drones, and the Goliath were testing for playable aircraft carriers with player-controlled planes? I think it was more just testing drones. And trying to get their capabilities correct. I mean, we already have the scout planes, right? But no, I don't think it's playable aircraft carriers. Like, if they decide to do that, it'll be very annoying to play against. And also balancing is going to be an issue with that. But then again, they've added a ton of stuff over the last 2 years where, you know, I talked about the balancing and how it would be hard to do, and here we are. We're in a situation where the balancing is really bad and hard to do at certain levels. So, yeah, maybe they do it. I think it would be a bad idea. But then again, there's been a lot of things I thought were bad ideas when it comes to the game development. Some of them turned out to be bad ideas, and other ones turned out to be alright ideas. So, yeah, simple as that. Here, I'll just take a quick drink. Oh, boy. So, Q&A. And a second, less congested question. What are your thoughts on Recon aircraft? I have, say, 2 per team max, right? I've talked about Recon aircraft in the past. We've talked about the idea of them. I don't want more useless teammates. And one of the things I get accused of quite a lot is being mean. And that's just because of the directness of how I address things, because I don't really like wasting time, even though some people believe I do. The simple fact is, when the Type 93 was added to the game, I had 3 or 4 teammates on my team who were completely worthless for the first 5 to 6 to 10 minutes, and were only worth if the enemy decided to spawn specific things. Now, when it comes to Recon aircraft, that would basically be the same thing. If, let's say, I have 2 on my team, and they're able to scout stuff from the air, or, you know, able to show people, that's great. But then what ends up happening if they have 10 tanks and you have 8, right? And the Recon planes are just spinning around not doing anything. Well, guess what? You've just lost. Like, you just get hammered if people are of equal skill. So, for me, I don't want to give my teammates and the enemy more opportunities to do pointless things in the game. So that, stuff like bridge laying as well, and all of those different things. Because there's enough excuses in War Thunder to grief your own team, in a way. Now, I don't want to give people another reason. Do you think War Thunder will ever give secondary nations anything not USSR and USSA? The version of jets that are viable at the same time as the major nations. Example, the Tornado IDS being added over the GR3 ADV, and would you agree RRB above a certain BREC? I think the way that they have it now, when it comes to jets, is fine. I would actually raise the BR slightly of when you see RRBEC, because I don't specifically think that being in like a 7.0 jet is any use in an EC game. But the highest echelons, like 12.0 to 11.0 or 11.0 to maybe 10.0, is fine for stuff like that. In the past, Gaijin has actually given better versions of specific planes or specific things like that to other nations to try and compensate for, you know, those nations not being as good, or to try and give people a kicker to play it. An example of this would be for Britain, where they added the Phantoms, the FGR and the other one. They gave it the pulse Doppler radar and the sky flashes, and it was one of the best, if not the best, machine when it came to the Phantoms in the game. The F4EJ Kai as well. So it isn't necessarily the fact that they always give it to the major nation first. I would also say that when it comes to mechanics and stuff, they do definitely add them mostly to America, which, you know, kind of sucks, but then again, it makes sense historically. I would prefer them to do it the other way, though, where they give it to a minor nation and then test from there. But then you'll get a lot of people complaining because they wouldn't be able to get access to it. So, yeah, that would be a bit of a problem. So yeah, you'd like a European Portuguese subtree in Italy and a Brazilian subtree in France. Oh, fair enough. Let's see. Are there any more questions? Oh, here you go. Do you think we'll see an enduring conflict, combined arms, either planes or tanks for all three? No. Go and get in a tank and go onto a custom game which is set up to be an aviation map. Just go do it. Now, and don't worry about the graphics. Don't worry about the topography or the landscape or anything like that. Just go and do it and go and drive for 5 minutes. Just do it. And just wander around and only focus on the game. Don't do anything else. Back in the day, there was a few people who tried to do large-scale custom matches, and we got involved in them. You know, we played them a bit. We played them on these large maps. It was, you know, however many versus however many. And what would happen is both sides would drive to a point. They would fight at that point. Whoever won at that point would then just sit, waiting, and then everybody else would, the enemy team would then kind of push into that area, and then what you would do is you would just kill them because you're in a defensive position. So it wasn't really fun. You drive for 5 minutes to get shot, and you know, okay, then move the spawns a little bit closer to, you know, then move the spawns a little bit closer to the action. All right, let's do that. So then you just get shot again. And then one team just keeps marching forward because there's no coordination or cooperation. It's not fun, right? And there are plenty of examples of games out there that do these larger maps with combined arms, and it isn't fun, right? Like it gets very stale very quickly when you are vehicle dominated on the thing and you don't have the equipment to stop it. Hey, Master Chief, nice to see you. What do you think of a Romanian subtree being added in War Thunder, maybe this year or in the near future? I've advocated, as I said previously in an answer, for all of the what I would class as minor Axis nations of the Second World War being added to Italy. I think it would be a positive idea. I think it would be a good idea. I'd love them to have some better AA in the ground parts, or at least move the drones, planes, helicopters, and ground AB to a point where they don't outmatch the AAs in range. And the AA radar needs a complete new take on it. What do you think? I would love them to have some better AA in the ground part, or at least move the drones, planes, helicopters, and ground AB up to a point where they don't outmatch the AA's range. So basically, like, bring them in. Sweet dreams, crazy hippie. Let's see. Sure. I think right now the imbalance between aviation and ground is very apparent, and it's going to get worse over time. It's got a lot worse over the last year to 2 years. I've been playing I decided to play a lot of 10-3, 10-7. What a waste of time being in a ground vehicle. You know, I was playing the challenges. I just kept getting droned, and I just kept getting helicoptered, and I just kept getting planed. And it happens after 2 minutes into the battle, because people know how to cap a zone and then die. It's not a worth point. Like it's not fun at all. It's kind of boring because you just keep dying to things you can't do anything against. And then it's like, oh well, just spawn in an AA. There isn't an AA at those BRs forbidden. They moved the Stormer up for some reason, so you can't run it with the challenges. Oh, spawn in a plane. Yeah, I could do that. I could do the Harrier if I get enough SP points. And yeah, I could go hunt them down, that's true. Like, that works. I've done that many times now when it comes to it, but it's not fun. Yeah, basically the major part of the game just doesn't exist, which is the ground combat, which is not very fun. So yeah, they obviously need to rethink it. At least from my point of view, I think the drone edition was a negative one. It basically says to people you don't have to grind stuff. You can just get this thing for free. There's no downside for killing the drone either. There should be a penalty for that stuff, and they should also make them, if you hit them with anything, they just die, because it's very, very annoying that they don't. At the end of the day. Let's see. Do you think that this year we'll have the F-18 Super Hornets and maybe a premium F-18 or MiG-29? Don't think we'll get a premium, but yeah, I think so. Looking into the F-18 and talking to people about the F-18, it makes sense to add it at this point. I think we'll see an expansion of other things first though, so probably more later in the year. Don't think the premiums will come though, because we've just had the whole new set of premiums, right? So I'll be very surprised if they add more. What do you think about the Japan Premium Tank Pack come after the Type 74? What do I think they'll add? Type 16, maybe? It seems very odd to remove that vehicle, if I'm honest with you. I don't know why. I don't know why they removed it, unless they have another option for it. It just seems odd to me that they've decided to do that. My guess is there's probably something coming in for Japan, or something like that. Maybe that's the idea. The next one is, I'm more curious when they will add a subtree for Israel. There's a dire need for one, and the options are somewhat limited and boring. Yeah, which is why I struggle to understand why the tech tree needed to exist anyway. They should have just moved the different vehicles to different nations. Egypt is probably one you could put a subtree in. I know people wouldn't like that, but I'm now at a point when it comes to War Thunder, I'm very apolitical. Like, I don't think about real world issues when it comes to what's happening in the game, so yeah. I think that would be fine. Let's see. I've been looking on the download for ways to finally open up a topic specialty for my YouTube channel, since most of it just focuses on gameplay, only with no real editing. But with your experience, I wanted to pick your brain a little. I want to provide something different for viewers, but I'm not sure about what to introduce, since there are plenty of War Thunder YouTubers that get into the technical aspects like Tim's Variety and Spookston, or straight gameplay like Hunter. Any tips in what could help me find something that would have some sort of meaning for an audience? So these questions are always hard for me, because I've never looked into that side of things. Like, I don't see YouTube as a profession, even on the higher end of things. I think YouTube in general is just a place to make cool stuff or things you want to make. So I don't think of it from that point of view. I mean, if you have a look at the guys who've been successful the last few years, they just all copy each other. So you just follow that formula. you know the formula works, so just do that. Like it's not too hard to do. You know, put over energetic stuff in. Talk about vehicles very limited and use certain buzzwords to push it, and then add highlights which are either manufactured or non-manufactured to push it forward, right? Like that's pretty much the way to do it. It's not hard. It's what pretty much everybody in the gaming space does. And then what you do is once you get bored with that, you then transition into historical videos, because the crossover between history and War Thunder is very large. So you start doing videos about that. It's not hard to do. Like it's actually pretty easy. The question is, do you want to do that? Like do you actually want to become something that you're not, and then basically a lot of the time say things that you don't believe or you haven't thought through because you know it's appealing to the highest amount of the population, or at least the people who take in content. The thing that's missing in War Thunder is podcasty stuff, and also proper explanations when it comes to maps, and then also creating maps, and also like not future content, but tips on positioning when it comes to specific areas, or why certain things happen or why not certain things happen. Like, why did they remove White Rock Fortress? Like a whole video talking about that, or trying to look at like certain ideas. Why didn't they work? Or what could you take from those ideas and then put them into the game and push from there? The problem with that is nobody wants to watch that. So if you want to pick stuff that people want to see, just go play high tier stuff, and then go play only major nation stuff, and go look up YouTube or Google Trends about what people are talking about when it comes to War Thunder, and then make videos about that and follow that and become a robot. There you go. That's how to be successful nowadays. Like, as I said, I'm not the person to talk to when it comes to success, because I don't take into account any of those things. I just do my own thing. Let's see. What is your favorite World War II plane? Your personal favorite, or whichever you think is the best. I like the Hurricane series. The Hurricanes are really cool. I love the design. I would love to own one day, but there's only a few left. I'll probably get a replica at some point when I have a midlife crisis. But the thing about a favorite World War II plane is the Hurricane is very underrated, and it has a similar story, I suppose, to the Stuka, but just a little bit after. The Stuka, by the time that the Second World War kind of rolled around, was obsolete. It really wasn't good, even for the role that it did. The role was the losses that it took within that role, where it was nowhere near as useful as other vehicles that were around. The Hurricane kind of hit that point in maybe 1942, 1943, so it had a few more years to it. And it's a vehicle that's very much always overshadowed by the Spitfire, because of obviously the elliptical wing and the beauty of its flying. But if you have a look at the statistics, especially in the early war period, the Hurricane was the main carry. I definitely have this whole loving the unloved kind of thing when it comes to a lot of different areas. I kind of like looking for stuff like that. Not really like the lily among the thorns, or the diamond in the rough, but just more wondering, why don't people appreciate this thing? And usually it comes down to marketing at the end of the day. But something like the Hurricane is very similar to the Halifax bomber. The Halifax bomber was way more efficient and way more, I suppose, combat proven than the Lancaster. But the Lancaster is the one that gets all the press, just like how the Spitfire did compared to the Hurricane. And also because the Spitfire had way more evolution and also expansion, which was possible, whereas the Hurricane was more of a spent thing. So yeah, it's just a little bit odd. But those would be two. that I would pick personally. Let's see. Do you think that they'll add the EMBT for France and Germany this year, since it's a pretty big deal in Europe? I mean, it's a big deal in some places. The problem with the EMBT, like the Europans or whatever you want to call it, I mean, they will add it at some point. The only question is, what do you add it to? And then the other part of it also is what stats do you give it? Because there's been quite a few iterations of it. So which one do you pick? Is probably the best way it comes to. So yeah. I predict TEC will say when it comes to at least 1 million times in 2023. I say it a decent amount, but at the same time, everybody has like little things that they say. One of the things in football, which a lot of people say, is at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, X. At the end of the day, Y. At the end of the day, this. And it's just a simple thing. Like it's a gap filler, right? And just like me and everybody else, you have gap fillers when it comes to your speech. There's no way of getting rid of them. The way that a lot of YouTubers get rid of them is they just cut them out of the videos. I have an actual job and I don't have time to do all that and also make everything expedient, so it's not going to happen. If you want me to cut my videos down so I sound like a jigged up 18-year-old, I can do that. But yeah, it's not usually a great thing. In what line would the A6 TEC tree version go? I think it'll go in the attacker line. I mean, it's an attacker, right? So it would make sense. There's also a German 140 Leopard, so maybe a Swiss 140 Premium. Yeah, or a Swiss sub-TEC tree. I think a Swiss sub-TEC tree would be really nice. I think that'll be quite good. So, yeah, that would be alright. Let's see. What do you think about Japan Air TEC tree and its future? Well, its future is weak, but that's just because they're like a lot of other nations. You know, they use everybody else's stuff. The F2 is an interesting one to think of. But in terms of the Second World War stuff, the Japanese air TEC tree is incredibly fun. There's a lot of really nice vehicles in there. Like all of the standard vehicles that are in the TEC tree. So, for example, for Japan, you have like the A6 M2s, or just the Zeros in general. The J2s are super fun, same with the Key 61s. Key 43s I have a few issues with, but they're still good. It's just armament's a bit odd. You know, Key 84s are great. You know, N1Ks are alright. Looks like I have to respade some of them. Yeah, EFS. Lovely. Yeah, the propeller part of the TEC tree is fantastic. The only issue they have is their bombers, because they're not really designed for War Thunder. They're designed for long-range operations. And bombers which are designed with long-range operations, so they have a ton of fuel on board and not a huge bomb load, are never going to fit really in War Thunder very well. So that's a problem. The twin engines are fun. You know, it's hit and miss. Key 83 is nice. J5N1's nice. You know, the Key 45 Co. This one's pretty good. So yeah, they're not bad. A lot of these are built for purpose, so they're not great. Apart from the B7's really good. The issue, of course, is these guys, right? And above these guys, they're just going to be limited. Like I don't know how else to put it. They're going to have a tough time. It's just how it goes, unfortunately. There's not going to be a ton of nations that are going to be highly competitive at the higher echelons of aviation, and Japan is going to be one of them. But remember, when it comes to War Thunder, like the vast majority of the time, you're going to be playing all this stuff, right? And that stuff is really good. So, you know, I like the Japanese propeller part of the TEC tree, just like how I really enjoy the Italian propeller TEC tree. But after that, yeah, it's not great. Do you think the Sturm Tiger will become a birthday event, kind of like the Mouse? But instead of having to get a certain rank, won't redo the event where the Sturm Tiger was released? No, I don't think so, because it was just for the 10th anniversary. I would really like them to bring back I would like them to bring back stuff which is much more designed around like bringing back old event vehicles and things like that, but they just don't really ever do that. So it kind of sucks. I wish they would, but they don't. Do you get to the Cloud District very often? I don't know what the Cloud District is. Let's see. What's your favorite Pastime game that's not War Thunder? Probably Total War's Medieval 2 Total War. Medieval 2 Total War with the Third Age mod. That was fantastic. I really enjoy it. Red Faction Guerrilla remastered edition was really fun. Then the thing that's really cool is there's a mod right now for the Attila, and it's known as the Dawnless Days Total War mod, and they are making basically a whole Lord of the Rings revamp of Attila, and I'm really waiting for them to basically make the campaign. They just finished the campaign tool, so it's all done. So now you can build the whole thing, which is really cool. So just to kind of give you an idea, this is, by the way, when this comes out, or if Total War ever decides to make like a Lord of the Rings thing, you will I'll probably just go play that forever and not bother with War Thunder, because that's my dream, Total War and Lord of the Rings. You can see here this is the mod. They're working on the campaign map. They've done a bunch of the different things and everything like that. So yeah, it looks really cool. I'm looking forward to it. That's a game I can sink a ton of time into. Strategy games in general, building games. Land of the Vikings recently has been really fun, that I've been playing. I played through a bunch of the Battlefields more recently, which is quite fun. And yeah, there's a ton of different stuff, which is really nice to play, but mainly strategy games. Supreme Commander as well. That's always quite nice. Just games that I can sink a ton of time into and just kind of build, right? So even Dungeons games we played recently, which was super fun. Let's see. No RRBC prediction? No. I mean, what predictions are going to be, Oh, they're going to add more stuff to it? Yeah, probably. Do you think Gaijin will make any effort towards bomber and partially attacker cockpits this year? No, I don't think so. There's not enough money in it. Businesses are businesses. What they need to do, what people need to do if they want to see these things is they need to create them themselves. We saw a precedent, more recently, where somebody made, I think it was the H-16. Somebody fully modeled a H-16 cockpit, and they sold it basically to Gaijin for money, and it got put in the game. This one. This was technically community made, right? And it's beautiful. It looks really nice. And straight afterwards, they also added a massive bomb to it. So for me, when it comes to this stuff, the thing that should be focused on is if you want to, the thing about War Thunder in general is if you want to see something in the game, you have all the opportunity in the world to add it to the game yourself and then get it into the game, which is something you can't say about a lot of games, which is what's really cool about it. So it's really nice. Let's see. Where the hell is my Stug 4? Probably at the bottom of a river. Who's the one War Thunder YouTuber you want to collab with? I don't really have any. I feel like at this point, if I wanted to do collabs, I could just hit people up. I've got some ideas for podcasts in the future. The issue is time. I make so many different things. Like I do so many different stuff, and I still do it all myself. So like I do all the Discord stuff, like when it comes to the giveaways and all of that. I don't do the moderation stuff. That's handled by a separate crew who are really good at it. I do all the Twitch stuff myself. I do all the YouTube stuff, both channels myself. I do the TikTok stuff myself, the Twitter stuff myself, the Patreon stuff myself. I do all of these things just me. And the next question is, well, why don't you just hire an editor, or why don't you just hire somebody to do these things? There ain't enough money in it. Like there just isn't. Like at the level where I'm at and the content that I make, there is not enough money in it to do it. And time is a thing as well. If I do something myself, I can do it efficiently and quickly. The more hands you put in the pie, the longer it takes. So yeah, the issue is a time thing. Like, I like playing with people like Laura Daly when it comes to Twitch. People like Wingling, very chill and very nice to chat to. Obviously playing with Dog, playing with Alex, Agent Alex 96, Rocker Boy, Fanatical Freeman. Like we have a good crew already. So I feel like in general, like I'm pretty happy with it. All of that stuff. Do I think Gaijin will add Poland or India to the game? My stock answer for this is they'll add everything. Like they'll add everything. The question just is when, not if. Like stuff like this will be added. There's no doubt about that. How many hours do I have in War Thunder? So on Steam, I have 13,000 hours. So yeah, overall probably about 14,000 hours. That's probably it. A lot of it is making content or taking screenshots and stuff like that though. So it's not all just gameplay. You can actually have a look at my service record and stuff if you're more interested in those ideas. Do you think the Russian bias exists? Stuff like the SU-25 eating stingers, BVM side skirts eating APF SDS compared to the SEP, and 2F. APF SDS spalling, invincible fuel tanks, putting things like 2S-38 in the game when we know nothing about them. I mean, I don't think specifically Gaijin goes out and decides that the USSR has to be stronger than everybody else, right? At the end of the day, there is a lot of vehicles in the major tech trees that are different BRs, which are very powerful, right? Even if you want to go to lower tiers, the Panzer IIc is insanely powerful for its BR. The Panzer IV F2, the Panzer IV G, vehicles that have gone down. But then you have a look at the KV-1 or the early T-34s, they're very powerful. The starter Shermans are also very powerful with their stabilizers. Same with the M4 105. The Stuart is really good. The thing in order to believe that Russian bias exists, you would also need to believe that other nations were put at an inferior level. But the problem is, the argument starts falling apart when you realize that a lot of those other nations also have power vehicles at specific points. Surely, if you wanted a specific nation to be powerfuler than the rest, you would then modify those vehicles so they weren't as powerful. Stuff like the M4 105, for example, is insanely powerful. Once again, stuff like the Panzer IVs, some of the Panthers are insanely strong. The Leopard at 7.3 is just nuts. A lot of the French vehicles as well, which are running around the place. So there are instances where things don't add up when it comes to the Russian side of things. But there is also a lot of instances where they just don't line up with other side of things as well. The issue is you have a simple fact. Right now, when it comes to the world, there is obviously a lot of animosity when it comes to Russia from the Western world, which I think is fair. Because of what they're doing. But also at the same time, when you look on social media and you look in the parts that you're used to, if you are from that western side of the world, you will see a lot of people who are from the western part of the world. So there is going to be an inherent bias with those guys to be able to, you know, push forward their ideas and what they believe in. So, yeah, it's, for me, I don't think there is built into the game stuff like Russian bias. Otherwise, you wouldn't have stuff like the F-14 dominating for however long it did, or the F-16 doing really well now, or the F-14 still doing really well right now. What you would have is you'd have the addition of a MiG-29 and just not even put in an F-16. You wouldn't have the F-4J being very powerful. You know, the areas where Russia is powerful are very powerful because it's a major nation. But the areas where Germany is very powerful are also very powerful. 5-3, 5-7, 7-3, 9-0, 10-0 now, you know, with all of those things. And where America is powerful, pick pretty much, well, the whole of naval, basically, apart from the highest echelon, which they will eventually become the most powerful. I think at the end of the day, it's not a Russia versus everybody thing. It's a major nation versus minor nation thing, and always has been, at the end of the day. Let's see. Mic sounds a little echoey. Yeah, it did. I think it's better now, though. Let's see. Is there any other... When Spanish vehicles? Well, we got one already. Maybe they'll add more. Who knows? I'm sure they will. But I think that's it for the Q&A stuff. At the end of the day. So I think we answered pretty much all the questions. Kind of a crazy video, but worth doing. We'll do one of these, like one or two times to go through. But yeah, a decent amount of questions. I think doing these is good, but not too often at the end of the day.